every sports person gets asked this question for the past 3 months, and that is basically, how has life been through the pandemic for you the last couple of months?
Yeah, I probably have similar answers to most people. I'm just training away. Well, I guess not many goals to look at coming up soon, but yeah, it's not too bad. I'm bored and I'm missing having something to aim at, but I'm very lucky as a middle distance runner that I can, run on the roads, run on grass. I managed to get a bit of gym equipment, so the back garden gym's been going strong. So yeah, no, it's not too bad. Not too bad.
Are you able to, like, where your kind of sessions done and things like that, and where your weight's being done?
So yeah, weights in the back garden, that's going pretty well. I've been able to kind of keep a really good structure with that. And then I live in Temple Oak, so sessions are in Timon Park or just like another pitch called Cherryfield or Bushy Park. So I actually have like quite good places near me, so it's pretty good. And my boyfriend James has been joining me as well on some of my sessions. He plays for the Dublin Hurlers, so it's an interesting mix of fitness and speed. So we've been helping each other out, so that definitely helped.
And does he have a newfound respect for your athletics ability now that he's
Yeah, no,
suffered through a few 800 sessions?
Yeah, no, he definitely does. We've been slowly kind of getting there over the last few weeks. He's definitely getting fitter, and then equally, I'm getting a lot faster, I think, of him. So yeah, it's good. It's a lot better than training alone.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a universal thing that people seem to be, at some point during this anyway, struggling for motivation. Has that at all been a factor for you, or have you found yourself much the same?
I don't think I've struggled as much maybe as other athletes with motivation, and I think that's just because with everything kind of being cancelled this year and especially the Olympics being moved, I just need to keep looking at it as a huge opportunity. The Olympics were coming up like pretty soon for me, and I definitely like would be lying if I didn't say I had an eye on them, but for this year. But I've been working full time doing an internship, and I haven't been able to get away for training camps as much as I would have liked and stuff, so it wasn't ideal. But now I have over a year, and that's a golden opportunity for me. Like I would have been pinching myself if you told me that early last year. So I'm just thinking of the positives, really.
And what's the hardest thing about this kind of time? What are the kind of things you're missing the most?
I think the hardest thing at the moment is like knowing if I'm like fit or not. I like kind of get a lot of confidence from track sessions and I guess races. So I'm kind of just running around on fields and doing a lot of time paced stuff, and it's hard to kind of know if each week is getting better than another. So I'm struggling a little bit with that confidence wise, and I guess just missing the track really. But I'm feeling good when I run, but at the same time I don't really have the same markers I'm used to having.
And I suppose athletics as a whole got a bit of a boost last week with the news that, there's some light on the horizon. Do you hope to race this summer, or kind of, I'm sure you probably followed the news to some extent, not that any of us is an epidemiologist, but is there a way you think it might be doable to sort of get back racing over the summer, or that you'd like to see?
Yeah, well, I'd love to, and I take anything. Like a time trial would be great for me. I think if there's nothing else, I'll just do my track training as I would as if I had races, and throw in a few time trials at the end. I saw the new date for nationals. I guess I'm just going to aim at it, and I'm not really worried about if it's feasible or not. It's my job just to be ready until it's cancelled or whatever, if it's postponed.
And do you normally run in a group training wise, or do you kind of normally do much of your running on your own?
No, I do a good bit on my own or with my training partner Lauren. So it's usually just the two of us. So I am used to training alone, and definitely like when I was younger, I always trained alone. So it's not too bad. But 800, it's hard to imagine how you can social distance, and it's equally hard to imagine all of us running in a lane for for 2 laps.
There'd be no disqualifications anyway on the
No pushing at least and tripping, which would be nice.
and like you mentioned, you're doing an internship. What sort of stage are you at the moment in terms of college, and what's that in exactly?
So I am studying marketing in DCU. So my third year was an internship. So from June last year to the end of May this year, I've been working in Johnson and Johnson in Tala doing a marketing internship. So Yeah, it's been good, but it's definitely been challenging with athletics, to be honest. So I'll be happy just to kind of be a full-time athlete over the summer.
Is it like 9 to 5 type thing?
Yeah, it's been 9 to 5, so I kind of felt like my life is just a big timetable for this year. But it'd be 9 to 5, but it's flexi time, so you could go in anytime between 7 and 10, and then just work your 8 hours and leave. So that really, I think, made quite a big difference this year. Like for certain days, if I wanted to double or go in early or go in late.
Good stuff. And I suppose if we go back to the very start in terms of your own development coming up through the ages, were there many like athletes in your family, parents into it at all?
Uh, Not really. My dad is from Sudan, so you might kind of look at him and think he looks like a good Kenyan runner, but he's not exactly got a running background. But my mom is more interested in sports. She's kind of just loved all sports. She's from Kilkenny, so definitely a GAA background, but she loved watching Sonia and the likes throughout the years. So once she kind of saw I was fast in primary school, she brought me to an athletics club.
And were you fast in primary school? Were you killing people on the
Yeah,
playgrounds?
yeah. I was actually, yeah. I did my first. I moved to an athletics club first after I won my class race in second class. I think beating all the boys. So that's how they knew. That's how the career started.
So you joined, was it Temple Oak then AC from the start?
Yeah. Temple
Yeah,
Oak AC. Yeah.
cool. And like, were you kind of winning races from the start, at like national, Leinster level, etc.?
Yeah, yeah, I guess I was. I won my first All Ireland when I was under 12, and I'd say I pretty much won some form of something all the way through school. So I started off wanting to be a sprinter with 60 meters, and then I just wasn't doing as well in that, so I had to give up that dream. And then I liked the 600s, and then from 600s, then it kind of jumped to 815, and I was good friends with Carla Sweeney in school, and we are both in the same year. And the reason she kind of went with 800s and I went with 1500s is we looked at each other in first year and said, well, I want to win the West Leinsters, so let's avoid each other. So that's pretty much why I ran 15s throughout school, to avoid my friend Carla, so we could both do well.
That was very generous.
Yeah, worked out well for us both.
Yeah, and were there many other, did you play many other sports growing up?
Yeah, I did camogie until I was 16, so I took that quite seriously and really enjoyed that. But it was kind of a lot when I was starting to kind of make Ireland teams and stuff underage, so I gave it up then.
Cool. So it's about 16 onwards then you were focusing on athletics.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I guess towards the end of schools, I know you're like going to a lot of underage championships, things like that, but the decision I suppose that everyone good athlete faces is, do you stay in Ireland or do you go to America? How did you kind of come to that decision to go to America initially?
Yeah, I always wanted to go to America. My old running coach, Stephen Holt in Temple Oak, his son is a coach in America, but I think it's in like a private college or a D2 college. So I didn't go there, but he really always encouraged me to. So from the age of about 14, I was really set on going to America. And then I was lucky enough in that the year where colleges were recruiting, so it would have been kind of fifth year, somewhere fifth year, I ran really, really well and qualified for World Youth. I'd ran 424 over 1500, so I peaked at just the right time, so I got a lot of offers. So I visited the University of Virginia, Iona and Providence, and I went with Virginia.
Yeah, and obviously of the Iona and Providence are very much Irish kind of colleges.
Yeah.
What kind of made you think Virginia?
I think I was kind of blinded by all the bright lights of a big American school, to be honest, because those two were kind of small kind of private ones with not the great facilities, whereas Virginia is like, the town was so nice, and like there's amazing running facilities, and they had the great gear and the football team and the stadiums, and they had it all, and the campus was really, really nice as well. So I think just taking it all in, I went with there, and I think I was the first Irish person or athlete anyway to go there.
And how long were you out there?
Yeah, so I only lasted 4 months. So I kind of like, as soon as I got there, I knew very early on that like it wasn't for me. I just kind of felt homesick straight away. and I kind of really been looking for a coach that wasn't going to make me become a 5k runner, 10k runner, but I got there and I was sensing he was trying to bump me up and put me on lots of miles early, and I could see all the other girls around me getting injured. So I was getting kind of red flags earlier on. Like, there's a lot of nice things about it and I liked the team, but it just wasn't right from very early on. But I deferred a place in DCU for the next year. So I was like, right, by around Christmas, I was kind of like, okay, no, I probably won't do the full 4 years, but I'll finish out the year. But then I don't know how many people know the story, but myself and another girl, Sarah Aston from Isle of Man, flew back 2 days later than the head coach wanted us after Christmas. We just booked the flight kind of like a good few months ago, and he wasn't happy. He wanted us back for the team meeting and dinner on, let's say, the 4th of January, and we flew back on the 6th, and it was €700 to change the flight. So we just kind of told him, look, we're not changing the flight, sorry, see you then. And we got in a lot of trouble, and both got our scholarships reduced over just being 2 days later over a financial thing. And we would have missed one team run, which I obviously would have done at home. So we got our scholarships reduced a little bit and got temporarily suspended and stuff. So I went back after Christmas for about 2 weeks, and I was just being treated really badly and really upset and over all that. And I just said, well, look, I didn't like it here anyway before Christmas, and what's the point in being unhappy here for the next 6 months? So I just left.
Well, and when you say scholarship reduced, does that mean you actually had to start paying some sort of tuition to go there?
Yeah. Obviously, I was on a full scholarship because you can't really afford college to go over from here if you're not. So it was only a 5% reduction, but when the scholarship's worth 60 grand, it's a good bit of a reduction. It's the same price as going to college in Ireland, and I feel really bad for Sarah because she had done a year and a half of a 2-year master's, and she whatever way hers was cut, it ended up being a lot more money than mine, and she just had to drop everything and leave as well, and get nothing for a year and a half of a 2-year master's program. So she was definitely hit a lot worse. I was really lucky I deferred a place, and it wasn't too bad.
And you mentioned the training did ramp up to try and make you a 5k runner. What would you have been doing, say, in 6th year versus what you were put on your first semester over in Virginia?
Oh yeah, I never would have done, I'd say, more than 25 miles, and even that would have been a push. Everything was speed. I never really even kind of went on runs that much. I just kind of did whatever. I trained hard when I got there, but there wasn't much structure. But then you go over there and you're running lots of kind of 8 mile runs nearly every day, and they're fast when I wouldn't have even thought about running fast. So yeah, it was just mileage really, like a lot of American schools. Luckily I didn't get injured, but a lot of the girls did, so I'm sure I would have got there eventually.
So how long was it after you decided to come home that you actually got on the flight? Was it literally a couple of days or?
Yeah, literally 2 days, booked it straight away. It was it was so crazy, honestly, going back over after Christmas for 10 days and then just changed my mind. Obviously, the head coach regretted being so hard on us, and we had to have a meeting with him before we left. The head of athletics, not just track and field, of athletics, was you need to talk this out, and can we do everything? So it was pretty awkward saying to his face, well, actually, you were so mean to us that we're both going to leave now.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a good story at least.
Yeah. And was it the following autumn then when you started in DC, or did you go back into the second semester?
Yeah, it was the following autumn. So that was the year of European Junior. So this would have been 2017. So I just got a part-time job and worked, and then started from first year in DCU the following autumn.
Cool. And how was the DCU experience, I guess?
Yeah, a lot better. Very, very different, but a lot better. I love DCU. Yeah, I really, really like it. I don't live on campus because I live in Dublin. So I probably don't spend as much time with kind of the athletics team and stuff or in the house as I would like to, but yeah, I've loved it. I love my course, and I definitely love the athletics there, so it's been a lot more of a positive experience.
And what sort of approach has Enda taken with you over the years in terms of training? How has that kind of been brought along?
It's been a bit of a balance, I guess, probably between the extremes of my old coach, which was we did a lot of speed, which kind of in hindsight was good. I didn't need to be doing, you know, a lot of kind of miles or whatever when I was younger. And then America was a lot of miles. So now we're somewhere in the middle. We do kind of focus a lot on speed and endurance, but like it's been a really steady build up, and you know, I kind of look forward over the next few years thinking there's a lot I can add on. You know, I'm not kind of training to full capacity now, I don't think.
And could you give us kind of a rough weekly rundown of what your training might look like around this time of year?
Yeah, so we're messing around with it a little bit now. During this time, just out of experimentation, I'm just trying to see if kind of shorter runs a little bit of a better pace suit me. But generally, it would be like 50-minute run and a gym session on Monday, then a session on Tuesday. Probably, you know, during a base season, the session would be like, let's say 6 by K, something like that. And then Wednesday is a run and gym again. Thursday, maybe some sort of fartlek, one of the easier days. Friday rest. Saturday hills, either 5 by 800 meter hills or like 8 to 10 by 300 meter hills, depending on kind of where in the season we are. And then Sunday long run, about 60-70 minutes usually.
Stuff. And like the breakthrough last year, obviously huge chunk to come down to 202. Was there anything in specific, I suppose, you did last year that kind of changed, or was it just more of the same building?
I think it started to just really click with Enda. I don't think it was anything huge. I've been with Enda since I came home from America, so last kind of summer would have been 2.5 years together. So I think kind of doing a new training takes a while for that to click in together. But the year before I'd ran 205 over 800, and I was really surprised with that. And we decided to concentrate on 800s last year. So we did a lot more kind of speed endurance and stuff at 800 pace. So I think I just adapted really well to that. And yeah, I probably took things a tiny bit more seriously last year, and I guess also improved my mindset a bit. So it was all of that. It was nothing kind of magical. It wasn't a huge kind of increase in training, but it was definitely a clear combination of a few things.
And like for the vast majority of athletes, kind of good juniors like yourself, there's a lot of rocky periods before they get into their kind of mid-20s and start to flourish, I suppose. You seem to have had a pretty consistent kind of arc of improvement until, you know, the age of 22 now. Have you kind of had, what's been the hardest part of that kind of transition as you come through to the senior ranks, or has there been many hard parts?
Yeah, I think it has been really smooth, and I'm lucky. I've definitely improved really consistently for a long time since I started athletics, really. I think maybe not, you know, doing well in Ireland, but never really running amazing times or never doing that well internationally in hindsight, you know, when I was younger, did me a lot of good. So it kind of now's my time a little bit more, at least last year was. So yeah, I just stayed consistent really, and was lucky enough I wasn't that injured and just kept chipping away really. And yeah, the transition hasn't been bad really. It's been good for me.
Good stuff. And like looking towards last summer then, it's obviously the biggest summer of your career, I suppose. Kind of, you're obviously running well before you went to Sweden for the European Under-23s, but like in your head at that point, were you and Enda, I suppose, thinking medal, or was that too ambitious at that point?
No, I actually was thinking of a medal, and it was something I didn't really talk about. I didn't want to put pressure on myself, but I've been to a lot of underage track championships, and you know, I was chasing qualifying times and happy to be there. And then I remember European Under-20s, I was kind of like, I came 11th in the final, and I was like, oh, am I just going to keep kind of turning up and qualifying every year and just doing this? So no, last year I said this year is going to be different, and really set my mind to it, and just decided I was going to believe in myself. I was qualifying, I was getting the times pretty easy to qualify, so it wasn't really enough just to hit the time. So yeah, I was thinking about a medal. That was my aim, and I think I would have been disappointed if I came home without one, even though, you know, 5th or 6th would have been a good performance from me on paper.
And just, I suppose, to go back for a moment, because you mentioned those underage championships and the difference in mentality, like, you know, I think everyone knows that's a reality to an extent, whereby people want to get the times and get the kit and all that, and it's such a good buzz for athletes. Like, but did your attitude like change much as a result of those first few? Like I remember in Colombia, wasn't it, the World Youths where you
Yeah.
fell?
Well, yeah.
Obviously a hard experience for whatever it was, a 16-year-old. Like, but did they sort of harden up your mentality when it came to events like last summer?
Yeah, I think I think it's just I'm used to it. You're used to seeing the other countries, used to running against them. The intimidation factor is gone maybe a little bit. When we were a bit younger, we wouldn't, I guess, being as aware of performances of other athletes in different countries. Whereas, over the last few years, I'd have raced some of them abroad anyway, so that kind of helped. But yeah, I'd done it enough now, so it was time to set a new challenge. And I think at the same time, I was running better times anyway at home. So, let's say I was going into that with a 2:03, which, we did our stats, we looked back, and there was a good few years where that was enough for a medal. So it would have been silly to just say, oh, I'd be happy to make a final.
And what was in your head before that final, or what was Enda telling you?
Yeah, we thought it would go really fast, and I wanted it to go really fast. I thought Gemma Reekie would take it out, so I was kind of shocked when it went slow. But I had a few different experiences in the races before. I'd done a lot of kind of long burn ups, so I think that actually really suits me. Not kind of a 200-meter kick, but like we start going hard from a good bit out. That suits me, so I was happy with that as well, and that's kind of what it was. So yeah, I was ready for all scenarios. I was definitely really prepared, and I was just feeling really confident. I had a good heat, and I was enjoying myself. I was enjoying the experience. So I can kind of look back knowing why I ran so well, to be honest, because I know I was just in perfect state mentally for that race.
And I'm sure some people who'll be watching this might not know what happened in the carnage of the disqualification, but just to recount, I suppose, for a moment, just after the bell, I think it was, there was an athlete kind of leaning in kind of into your space, and you just used your arms to kind of protect it.
Yeah.
It resulted, you finished third, but it resulted in a disqualification, which was later overturned. What do you remember of that incident at the bell, and what you were kind of doing to protect your space as you were?
Oh, I don't remember it at all. Like when I was told I was disqualified, I didn't know what point of the race they meant. Like I had no idea until I saw it back. Like there was so much of that during the race. To be honest, it is obvious enough when you look back at the video, but there's a number of incidents in that race. It's just standard 800-meter championship running. So I was really surprised I was disqualified, and obviously devastated.
Yeah, and how long after the race was it like that you were able to enjoy your third place before someone said it to you?
Oh God, only like in the media room straight away. So I was just on the track and did like one interview and got about 2 pictures, and then someone called me back and said, and I could tell by his face, it was just one of the officials, and I was like, I'm not disqualified. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And yeah, it was horrible. So then it was about an hour and a half then before, like while I was waiting, and it was all being appeal and stuff. So it was really tough.
And even though you only had a couple of minutes, how was that initial couple of minutes when you actually got to feel like you were a European medalist?
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I was so happy. It was weird. Like I'd thought about it so much. It's just kind of like a pinch me moment. Like it's not like it was a surprise. It's more like I hoped and dreamed of this and visualized this, and it was just kind of weird then when it happened. So yeah, no, it was amazing for those 10 minutes or so.
So then you think it's gone, I guess, for an hour or so. What was your reaction during that time like?
Yeah, I think well, I knew it was going to appeal, so I didn't really fully let everything out until I knew, because everyone around me was like, wait, it's going to appeal, it's going to appeal. So I was really being kind of pushed to maintain my emotions. But obviously, like inside, I was a bit hysterical and, and crying. I don't think I publicly embarrassed myself, but I was definitely very upset. And I think I felt sorry for anyone who kind of ran into me, because the looks everyone was giving me, like they kind of like, oh, well done, but hard luck. Like everyone was avoiding looking at me because they just knew I was in the worst state ever. But I remember Louise Shanahan stayed by my side for the whole hour and a half, and that was actually really nice. And she was really good there. So I appreciated her a lot, and it was nice for like another Irish 800-meter athlete to kind of be by my side for that.
And were you kind of privy to what was being said or what was going into the appeal by the Irish team?
Yeah. So the whole situation was that I had apparently like pushed the winner of the race, Gemma Reekie. So she obviously won by easily, very easily. So she wasn't impacted. And then kind of like the Athletics Ireland, I think it's Paul McNamara and Richard Rogers were kind of leading the appeal, and they had said, look, went to British Athletics and kind of said, like, look, our argument against this is going to have to be that Gemma Reekie stepped in front of her and she had to defend her space. Yeah, but we don't really want to have to do that. But look, we're going to have to do that. So it was kind of like, you better say something or we're going to have to complain about your athlete. But just the way it went. But British Athletics were really, really good and supportive, and Gemma was so good. She actually went to the officials and herself and said, look, like, I felt nothing, I wasn't impeded, like, please turn that around. So like, that's definitely a really good sign, like, for another athlete to do that from another country. That meant a lot to me, and I think that was probably ultimately the deciding factor for the officials.
The Scots and the Irish, I guess, have that kinship,
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah, no, it was really nice. But apparently it was just one judge who had been exactly at the line who just would not kind of let go of it, even though everyone else was disagreeing. So yeah, no, I appreciated everyone who helped me there a lot.
So then, where are you, and who's the first person to come up to you and tell you you're reinstated?
It was Richard Rogers. So yeah, no, he was really good. I really appreciate. They were just like a dog with a bone, kind of overturning that appeal. So that meant a lot to me. Yeah, it was really funny then because the stadium was empty. So it was funny kind of getting your medal, and I was just kind of freaked out still, to be honest. I just kind of wanted to get on the bus and bring the medal home and just hide in case someone came after me and tried to take it off me again.
And were your parents out there as well?
Yeah, my parents were there, and of course they were devastated and then elated again. Yeah.
You did meet them though in the kind of, the before and after of finding out, did you?
Yeah, but I guess they were among more people who didn't know what to say to me and they were just trying to comfort me and stuff, but I was probably a hard person to be around for that hour and a half.
Brilliant. Yeah. And like, coming off that, then obviously you're kind of free rolling with the rest of the season, but you go to, I think it was Leuven in Belgium, and run a 2:02. Did you see that coming? Like, did you end to know I'm in 2:02 shape this year?
We never really planned to be in 2:02 shape. I think at the start of the season I just popped to 2:03 really in my second race really easily, and in that race it felt so good that I said to myself, oh my god, I could run 2:02 this year, which kind of seemed like a really fast time to me, just coming off a 2:05 PB. So then I went on to race a number of more times, and the 2:02 wasn't as easy as I thought it was. So I went on my kind of, after Europeans, we were going to finish things, and just mainly because I was working and I'd used time off already for Europeans. So I was like, I don't know how I'll fit in more races, but I just knew I was in good shape, and I knew I had to get a good 15 in as well. I knew that was there, and I knew there was another 800 there. So then I just did about 3 weeks of training, and then had a really, really good August and just kept racing and getting better and better.
Brilliant. And you ran 4:13 for 1500. Did that surprise you at all? Like, you've given you were training for 800?
No, not really. I probably actually would have hoped for a bit faster over 1500. Like, just for my 1500 meter background, I'd ran like 4:19 a good few times before that. So, but I know it's still a decent jump. But I definitely was hoping kind of for around a 4:11, 4:12 last year. But I only really did 2 1500s. But at one point before Europeans, like, I had both A standards, and Enda said, oh no, will we do the 1500? What will we do now? We were starting to worry about things, but I'm glad I made that decision.
Gotcha. And then, like, looking towards the winter, then I guess, and I know when it comes to especially 800 runners and 1500 runners, David Campbell had an old line that you don't drive a Ferrari in a mucky field when it came to cross country, but you turned out and were on the relay team for the European cross country, which was what looked a hellish course over in Lisbon. How was that whole experience?
Yeah, that was really fun. I really struggle with cross country. Usually I can run distances, no problem. I'm like, I could probably go to run a good road 5k, but there's just something about the grass that just takes it out of me. So 1500 on kind of a dryish course with kind of with hills, like, suited me really well. And I actually thought it was like a great way to break up the winter, and fingers crossed for Dublin 2020 this year. I'm really, really hoping that's on, because I'm excited about that opportunity again.
And then like going back into winter training, what were you kind of focusing on this winter?
Yeah, I wanted to focus a bit more on indoor season. I never would have like really done that much speed for indoors. We just kind of did it and never worried too much about it. But I was this year I wanted to have a really solid indoor season. I knew there was some kind of world ranking points to be picked up there, so I trained a bit harder for it, and kind of got on the track a bit earlier. But it didn't go as well as it definitely was my best indoors so far. But I didn't really run the times I would have hoped for. Like training was looking a lot better than kind of I got on paper, unfortunately, this year.
But obviously it's kind of a coming of age thing for any athlete to win their first national senior title. That was your first national senior one, was
Yeah,
it?
no,
Indoors?
it was, and I have to appreciate that. Like I can't look back at that season and saying it wasn't good just because I didn't run 203 or whatever, because it's good to win a national title, and we don't know how many of them I'll get. So that was nice to win.
Yeah. What had you planned kind of for the upcoming months or last few months before the proverbial hit the fan with the coronavirus?
Yeah, I probably would have started racing early May. We were kind of looking at races, but I hadn't booked anything. Definitely would have went to Belgium, and I'm getting pretty sad about that because I just love going to Belgium every year. And then I didn't really have a plan, but I was going to race a lot, and I was going to focus again on 800s. And then we had Portugal booked as well for April, which didn't happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like, I suppose I was a DCU student as well, and I know kind of Enda's influence. And how do you find him, I guess, as a coach, as a person, that sort of sensibility that he has?
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, I love getting coached by Enda. He's been great. We get along really well, and he's definitely very entertaining as well. Anyone who knows him. I think we're a really good team, and like he goes to Portugal every summer, and like usually every year I'm going really well. I'm starting to peak for track season. He's at my races, and then in the middle of June every year he goes, right, I'm gone for 2 months, and I'm like, oh, I need you here. It's not a good time to go, but like, to be fair, looking back at last year, like he rang me every single day, twice a day, even probably sometimes. He was just obsessing over every detail last summer. So he's been really good, and he's definitely very committed to me, which I appreciate a lot.
Brilliant. And I suppose beyond the running training then, who do you work with for gym stuff and strength training, and how often do you kind of build that into your program?
So I work with Donny Fox. I just moved to him this year. So he is in SportsMed in town. So I've been doing that. So I go in there once a week. So I think hopefully that will start to show as well, because I put a little bit more emphasis on gym this year. Just obviously moving into 800, like I need to get faster really if I want to be running better, as I'm coming from like a 1500 meter background. So yeah, I enjoy that a lot, and kind of my hopefully fix my form and stuff as well as getting stronger.
And everyone asks the question of good athletes, but nutrition, what emphasis, I guess, do you put on that? How carefully do you kind of look at your nutrition?
I'm probably not as good as like people would think. I think I have a really healthy relationship with food. I don't worry too much about it. Like, the meal looks healthy, I'm happy. I'm not worrying about grams of protein and carbs and whatever. I just feel well is probably the thing I focus on the best. Like, I'll eat a bit of chocolate definitely and have a cheat meal 100%, but when it comes to recovering after training, or when it comes for fueling properly for training, I won't get that wrong. So they're the big things I focus on, rather than being kind of super healthy.
Gotcha. Do you take supplements?
Yeah, I do. I take a lot of like iron, vitamin D, probiotics. Yeah, I have about 4 or 5 every day. But yeah, they help not get sick. So I definitely would recommend them to other athletes.
Gotcha. And like you mentioned your approach to nutrition there, but I suppose for a lot of athletes, and especially I think the younger you are, and especially for girls, probably more so than boys, there is that kind of pressure that a lot of them face. And there's a good piece in the Irish Times today with Sarah Lavin kind of talking about how she kind of almost self-destructed by kind of being too paranoid about her diet. Like, have you, as an athlete, did you ever feel that pressure kind of through your late teens or early 20s to kind of, maybe if I, that kind of fallacy of maybe if I lose a couple of pounds, maybe I'll run a bit faster, that some people
no,
fall into?
definitely. And like, you know, every time I think, it's just something that pops into your head. Maybe I don't know about men, but I think as a female athlete, it is something that pops into your head. Like, I would have briefly thought about it after indoors, which looking back is a bit silly now. It's like, oh, why didn't I run faster? Maybe that's it. Should I be leaner? Looking at different people, but I've also seen a lot of girls have similar stories to Sarah, or even worse, who haven't came back from it, and friends of mine. So, you know, I've always known to kind of swat that thought away when I have it. And to me, the best kind of marker is that I'm consistently getting better throughout the years. I'm not getting major injuries. I'm able to hit my times most sessions. I never feel overtired. Like, I'm like, you know, I'm on an upward curve, and I think that just means I'm getting my nutrition right, like, despite what I look like. You know, I think that's more important.
Absolutely, yeah. And like, I suppose the world changed for all athletes in when was it, March, I think, that the Olympics were postponed. When you saw that news, I know, going back to Sarah today, she said she almost felt guilty because she was kind of delighted because she was injured. But like, for you, what was your reaction to that news? Were you kind of secretly thinking, you know, I've got another year to prepare, or were you thinking, damn, I would have been ready this year?
Yeah, no, I think overall I was happy. I was thinking about it this year. It probably wouldn't look that obvious that it was kind of, it might have looked a bit early for me, but at the same time, like, the world rankings have really, really changed how people can qualify. And, you know, I think if I would have ran some 201s and 202s this summer, I probably would have got in on world rankings. Although at the same time, I didn't want to put a lot of pressure on myself, because I was working full time this whole year, and, you know, European seniors would have been, you know, a great outcome of this summer. So I was kind of looking at, well, that would be a great bonus this summer, but it's you know, it doesn't matter if it doesn't happen. It's still coming too soon. But, you know, now I have another year, and it's different now. I think it'd just be silly for me not to aim for it. It's every athlete's dream, and, like, we're all just trying to get better and hopefully end up there. So yeah, it's a goal now rather than kind of this amazing bonus that it would have been this year.
And having experienced that sort of 9 to 5 living, how much harder is that than your kind of college or school years in terms of trying to juggle training?
Yeah, no, that's been hard. Like, I don't like rushing training, and, like, I was able to get all my sessions in, and I was surprised I didn't feel that tired and stuff. Like, I do think I was able to manage it, but, like, mentally it was tough. And I think another really hard kind of psychological bit of it was me, like, seeing other athletes getting to train full time, and kind of knowing I was going to be racing them in somewhere, yet I'm working full time, was, like, getting to me a lot. And kind of, I was getting, like, annoyed I couldn't go on more training camps. You know, how am I meant to beat this person? They train full time and they're at altitude for 6 weeks. You know, obviously we all know it's doable, and people have done, you know, far more amazing things and work full time and make the Olympics. But it was just kind of mentally hard. So I think, you know, I can go in feeling a lot more optimistic about it next year.
Gotcha. And like, through those kind of college years, you know, it's a big crossroads for any person, any athlete. Some people obviously go off the rails with the booze and whatnot. Other people stay the course. Like, and I think it varies hugely between athletes. Some people are so paranoid about maybe going on a night out, and other people are out all the time. Like, over the last 4 or 5 years for you, how did you kind of find the balance between having a life of some sort and kind of being dedicated to your athletics?
Yeah, I definitely, since I went to DCU, I don't think I've been out with my course once. So I think they think I'm a lot of fun. But yeah, I definitely be among those who don't really do it. But it's not really a discipline thing at this stage. Like, you know, what I really enjoy in life is training, and then kind of doing tamer things with my friends, you know, maybe like going out for food or staying in and stuff. So it's not really a discipline thing. I just don't really love the feeling of being out all night knowing I'm going to feel crap the next day. So it's not that hard for me to refrain from. But yeah, at Christmas and stuff, you know, I'll go away. But yeah, it's not, I don't find it that hard not to.
Gotcha. And have you had many injuries over the years, or have you kind of had a pretty consistent run?
No, I've been good. Like, I've had a lot of niggles, but I don't think I've missed a season ever, like indoors, cross country, anything. Maybe once when I was like 16. So I'm really lucky in that way. Now I constantly have like niggles and stuff, which I think a lot of people do, and I actually have a bit of a niggle the last few months, but I can do most of my training. But yeah, I've been really lucky, but at the same time, I think definitely a bit of it isn't luck. I'm really sensible, and I think I know when to pull back, and I definitely take my recovery very seriously. So I think that's paying off.
Gotcha. I'll just send a reminder there to anyone watching that I think the chat box isn't working for questions, but if you want to put a thumbs up thing that you can kind of flag our attention with, Ger will come to you in a few minutes. If anyone has a question, we'll come to you in about 5 minutes for that towards the latter part of the show. We'll throw some quick fire questions at you here, Nadia, to find out a bit more about you. What's your favorite race venue?
Ordegem in Belgium, where IFAM's on every year.
Why is that?
Oh, I love how social it is. Like every Irish person is there, and the weather and conditions are great. And I've ran a good few PBs there, and it's just really fun after the race. Like there's just so many people, and everyone's in a good mood. So yeah, I'll really miss that this year.
Brilliant. What's your favorite pre-race meal?
Pasta. Very usual answer.
Favorite post-race meal?
McDonald's.
Nice. Reopening next week, I believe.
Oh, I know. I can't wait. I'll be there.
Your favorite film?
She's the Man.
Can't say I've heard of it, but I will. I'll watch it.
It's a silly one. It's a silly one.
Favorite book? Are you a reader?
No, not really, but I like mindset books the most. So I enjoyed Ask and It Is Given, and then I'm also reading one called The Champion's Mind at the moment, which is quite good.
Gotcha. Any specific one you'd recommend for other people who kind of enjoy the Eliud Kipchoge style?
Yeah, I'd recommend The Champion's Mind one. It's quite good.
Excellent. Your favorite elite athlete?
I like Emma Coburn, not really for like major specific reasons. I like following her on Instagram, and she seems kind of not too intense, but also really professional at the same time. And I like how she races. She's just really consistent. So yeah, I like her.
And on a side note, as an accomplished middle distance runner, would the steeplechase ever be an option?
Oh God, no. No, definitely not too long. I think 1500's the max for me.
Fair. Your favorite session?
Hills. I love hills. So probably 300-meter hills.
Gotcha. What would be typical for those? Like how many reps?
8 to 10 usually, but I like in hills how you get the long rest back. So you can't turn around and do 30-second rest because you have to get down to the bottom of the hill.
Is that very much up to you when it comes to Enda? You can take as long as you want, or do you have to scurry down the hill?
Oh no, take as long as I want. Yeah, just jog
nice.
Down.
Fair. What's your least favorite session?
I had down 600s at 1500-meter pace. Because I'm always, whenever I do them, I'm like, how the hell am I meant to do this for 1500 meters?
How many of those would you do in what recovery?
I do a session that's like, it's 600 at 15 pace, 200 at 800-meter pace, 600 at 1500-meter pace with 1 minute between, and then do 2 or 3 sets of that if you can manage. So that's the worst session, definitely.
That sounds gruesome.
Yeah, it's gruesome. That's one I haven't made it through a good few times.
What's the best bit of advice you've ever been given?
Yeah, so I'd say from Jessie Barr, who I go to for sports psychology. She said that like every time you're doubting something or have like a negative thought about a race or anything, challenge it with logical evidence of how you've faced that in the past.
Brilliant. And if you could go back to your kind of 16-year-old self, what would be the best advice you'd give to her or to any other 16-year-old out there?
I would say there's no point in working hard and training really hard if you're going to turn up on race day and give yourself 50 reasons why you can't do well. I used to definitely be really bad for that. I'd just be making up problems and reasons why I wasn't going to win, even though, I was like, I definitely could. So go in with a positive attitude and expect something good to happen.
Brilliant. And like you mentioned Jessie there, how long have you been kind of doing that sort of, sports psychology angle?
So since I think I went to her first last April, so maybe she should definitely get some credit, I think, for a good summer last year. Yeah, I think it really helps. I'm lucky I get that from Athletics Ireland, and it's a really good resource. And I'd also definitely say, like, generally to athletes, like, sports psychology isn't something you need to work on if you're having big issues. It's something that things can be going well and you can still add it on.
And like for those of us who maybe haven't been with or tried a sports psychologist, what are sort of the things that she looked at for you and sort of tried to change or address?
I think one of them was definitely staying like mentally strong during sessions and not kind of giving in. So that was something I worked at. And then, as I said, kind of with the evidence thing, going up to Europeans last year, I was kind of freaking out about the heat a little bit, and we went to that, and then that's when she gave me that advice, because I was like, oh no, what if I have to lead, or oh no, what if it's a burn up? And then she said, well, look back, you've led a race and you've won it, and then look back, you've dealt well with a burn up. So yeah, kind of giving yourself evidence definitely helps, I think.